This is the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway. It's fast, it's slick, and it's transforming how people and goods move across Kenya. A 300-mile lifeline from the coast to the capital in just 4.5 hours.
Impressive, right? But here's the kicker. This isn't just a Kenyan success story. It's a Chinese one. China funded it. China built it. China even runs it. And this railway is just the tip of the iceberg.
From Ethiopia's towering dams to Nigeria's sprawling highways, China's footprint is stamped deep across Africa, billions of dollars deep.
So, what's really going on here?
Is China pouring billions into African infrastructure out of goodwill?
Or is there a hidden agenda?
We've been mapping where Chinese investments are flowing.
And let me tell you,
it's a web that spans the entire continent.
So, what's the deal? Is this about cold hard cash, resources, markets, influence, or something even bigger? And on the flip side, why are African nations rolling out the red carpet for Beijing? In this documentary, I want to take you on a journey through these investments, roads, railways, dams, and more, to show you what they reveal about China's ambitions. Buckle up. This is China's hidden agenda in Africa. Let's start with the basics. China's investments in Africa are massive. Think billions of dollars flowing into everything from railways to dams. But why? What's the strategy here? Is it just about being nice, or is there more to it? Spoiler, there is definitely more. Let's break it down into 4 key reasons, straightforward.
No fluff, and figure out what China's really after. China's economy is a juggernaut, and juggernauts need fuel. Africa's got it in spades: oil, minerals, agricultural land, you name it.
Picture this: China is the world's biggest oil importer,
guzzling over 10 million barrels a day. Angola alone sends nearly 1 million of those barrels monthly. Then there's cobalt. Half the world's supply comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and China snaps up most of it to make batteries for your phone, your car, your everything. Copper from Zambia, rare earths from wherever they can dig them up, it's raw materials on a scale that keeps China's factories humming.
This isn't charity, it's survival. China's industrial boom can't slow down, at least, for now.
And Africa's resource wealth is a lifeline. It's a transaction as old as trade itself.
You've got what I need, so let's make a deal. What's not to like about that? But it's not just about taking, it's about selling too.
Africa's 1.4 billion people aren't just sitting there. They're a growing market, especially that rising middle class with cash to spend. Enter Chinese companies like Huawei, which has practically taken over Africa's telecom scene. They're not just building the networks, they're selling millions of affordable smartphones to people who've never owned one before. Walk into any market from Lagos to Nairobi, and you'll see Chinese goods, clothes, electronics, you name it, often cheaper than the local stuff.
This is business, pure and simple. Africa's population is exploding, and China wants a piece of that pie. Let's zoom out to the global stage. Africa is not just a market, it's a power block.
54 nations, 54 votes at the United Nations. China's playing chess here, and it's been making moves. Ever notice those shiny new government buildings popping up across the continent? Zimbabwe's parliament, Malawi's too, all built by China. They call it palace diplomacy. And that $200 million African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa? A gift from Beijing until that spy scandal blew up, with bugs allegedly sending secrets straight to Shanghai. Coincidence? Maybe. But the pattern's clear.
China is buying friends. In a world where the West often calls the shots, having allies who will back you up, or at least not vote against you, is gold. It's leverage. And China is stacking it high. Finally, the big one.
Infrastructure. Africa's got a gap roads that don't exist, ports that can't handle trade, railways stuck in the past. China's swooping in to fill it, and fast. Take the Addis Ababa-Djibouti railway. It cut travel time from Ethiopia's capital to the coast from days to hours.
Built by China, funded by China, and guess who benefits?
Chinese goods flow more easily, trade routes open up, and it's all part of the Belt and Road Initiative, $1 trillion plan to connect China to the world.
This isn't just about helping Africa catch up. It's about locking the corridors for Chinese exports and securing a foothold in global trade. Africa is a puzzle piece in that grand design. And of course, China is fitting in tight. So why is China investing in Africa? It's a cocktail of hunger for resources, for markets, for influence, for, of course, trade dominance. Each project, each dollar ties back to those goals. But here's the thing, this is only half the story. China has got its own reasons, sure. But why are African nations saying yes? Why are they rolling out the red carpet? We have dug into China's motivations. Now, let's flip the coin. This is the coin, and let's flip the coin. Okay, we're heading to Africa. Why are African nations so open to rolling out the red carpet for Beijing? It's not just about paycheck at the end of the month. The story is bigger, messier, and way more fascinating. It's about history, necessity, a sprinkle of strategy maneuvering. Let's break it down.
China's got a knack for keeping things chill. While Western donors like the US or the IMF often come with a laundry list of conditions, think democratic reforms or human rights benchmarks, China's playbook is different. No meddling, no preaching. They call it the non-interference policy. And for African leaders, it's a breath of fresh air.
Imagine you're running a nation and someone offers you a loan, no nagging about your elections or corruption stats. That is China's pitch.
Take Zimbabwe. When Western sanctions slammed the brakes on its economy, China swooped in with cash and projects, no judgment included. For many African governments, this feels less like a lecture hall and more like a partnership where they call the shots. Compare that to the IMF's rigid rules. Sometimes it's like swallowing a bitter pill that doesn't even fit your symptoms. Africa's got a gaping infrastructure hole, roads that crumble, railways that don't exist, ports that can't keep up. The World Bank says it will take $100 billion a year to fix it. Enter China, cash in hand and construction crews ready to roll. They're not messing around. Think Kenya's Mombasa-Nairobi Railway or Ethiopia's Addis Ababa-Djibouti line.
These aren't vanity projects, they are the lifelines.
Before those railways, shipping goods was a slog, trucks breaking down, borders clogged, costs piling up. Now, goods move faster, trade spikes, and economies get a jolt. Western aid often zooms in on smaller stuff. Schools, clinics, wells, which is great, but it's not building the arteries of a modern economy. China's big, bold projects scratch an itch African leaders can't ignore. Growth needs infrastructure, and China delivers it yesterday.
Let's talk numbers.
China-Africa trades clocking $200 billion a year. That's not pocket change. Chinese investments are pumping out jobs, hundreds of thousands of them across the continent. In Ethiopia, industrial parks built by China are buzzing with locals stitching shoes or assembling electronics for export.
It's not just employment, it's a spark for something bigger.
Beyond jobs, China's tossing in tech transfers and training. Workers learn skills, factories get know-how. It's a slow burn toward self-reliance. African leaders see this as a ticket out of the aid trap, a way to stand on their own feet.
Sure, it's not perfect, but it beats waiting for handouts that never quite materialize.
Here's a geopolitical kicker. China's a shiny new option. For decades, the West called the shots aid, trade, influence. Now China's flexing its global muscle, and African nations are loving the leverage.
It's like going from one buyer market to a bidding war.
Events like the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, are the stage for this. African leaders show up, shake hands, and ink deals tailored to their needs. It's not blind loyalty, it's strategy. With China in the mix, they can nudge the West for better terms or pivot east when it suits.
In a multipolar world, Africa's got more cards to play. So, why the warm welcome for China? It's a cocktail of practicality and possibility. The no-strings policy hands African leaders the reins. The infrastructure boom tackles urgent gaps. The economic wins are real. And the partnership shakes up the old Western dominance. But hold up, this isn't a fairy tale. There's a flip side. Debt piling up, environmental headaches, and whispers of a new dominance in disguise. African nations aren't steady-eyed. They are weighing risks against rewards. Will it pay off? That's the million-dollar question. Let's start with the buzzword you have probably seen tossed around: debt trap.
The theory goes that China's lending billions to African countries, knowing they might not pay it back. Then, when the bill comes due, China grabs something valuable like a port or a chunk of land. Take Kenya. That sleek Mombasa-Nairobi railway we raved about, it cost $3.6 billion, mostly funded by Chinese loans. Now, Kenya owes China about 72% of its external debt. That's a hefty tab. If Kenya can't pay up, could China call in a favor like control of Mombasa's port? It's not just a what if.
Look at Sri Lanka. They couldn't pay a Chinese loan for a port, so they handed it over on a 99-year lease. I mean, it's wild, 99-year lease. I mean, it's brutal. But hold up, not everyone is sold to this narrative. Some experts say it's overblown. African nations actually owe more to Western banks and private lenders than to China. And China has been known to forgive or tweak debts before. So, is it a trap or is just how global lending works? Think of it like a high-interest credit card. Risky as hell, but not always a scam. Next up, the human and natural toll.
Chinese projects have pumped jobs into Africa, hundreds of thousands of them. But dig into the stories, and it's not all rosy. There are reports of brutal working conditions, long hours, skimpy pay, sketchy safety. Sometimes, Chinese farms even ship in their own workers, leaving locals watching from the sidelines.
Frustrating, right? And there is the environment.
Mining projects can turn pristine landscapes into wastelands. Imagine a clear river turned into a toxic sludge pit. That's happened in some spots.
But it's not black and white. China is also bankrolling green projects.
Solar farms, wind turbines, hydropower dams.
They're not just cheering stuff up, they're building cleaner energy.
It's a messy trade-off.
Now, let's get into something trickier: sovereignty.
China's big pitch is that it doesn't meddle unlike the West, which loves tying aid to lectures about democracy.
But when you owe someone billions, I mean, how free are you?
If China says, hey, back us up at the UN, can you really say no?
Picture this: you borrow cash from a buddy who says, no pressure. But when they ask you to ditch your weekend plans to help them move out, you're stuck, aren't you? That's the vibe here. So, where does this leave us? Chinese investments in Africa is a double-edged sword.
On one side, you've got roads, rails, and job stuff Africa's been starved of for decades. On the other, you've got debt piling up, environmental messes, and some uneasy questions about independence.
African countries are walking a tightrope, trying to snag the wins without sipping into the risks. And what's next? Will China keep the cash flowing, or will a slowdown back home shift the game? How can Africa play this partnership to build something lasting? We'll unpack that in the next chapter. But for now, tell me, what do you think? What's next for this partnership that is reshaping a continent?
Will China keep pouring billions into Africa, or could a curveball at home change everything? And what happens when other global players like the US and Europe decide they want back in the game?
Let's get into the crystal ball and break it down. First, let's talk about China. Right now,
it's like the kid with the biggest wallet at the candy store, buying up everything. Roads, dams, ports. Over $50 billion was pledged at the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation alone. But here's the thing. China's economy isn't bulletproof. It's been slowing down. Think real estate slumps and a middle class that is getting antsy. If that growth engine sputters, will Beijing still have the cash or the appetite to keep bankrolling Africa's infrastructure? Now, let's flip to Africa's side. For years, African nations have been painted as the junior partner, grateful for the cash, but stuck with the terms. But that's changing. Countries like Ethiopia and Kenya aren't just saying yes please anymore, they're learning how to negotiate. Picture a poker game.
Africa is starting to bluff better, knowing China needs them as much as they need China.
How? For one, they're pushing for more local hires on projects. In Nigeria, New deals are mandating higher percentages of local workers, less fly-in Chinese crews, more homegrown talent, and debt. Countries like Zambia are getting savvier, restructuring loans to avoid another Sri Lanka-style port grab.
It's not perfect, but it's leverage. Africa is figuring out how to tilt the table in its own favor. So, what's the future look like? It's not one size fits all.
If China's economy holds strong, expect more mega projects, maybe even deeper ties. For African nations, the challenge is turning this partnership into lasting gains. Better roads are great, but thriving economies are the real prize. Globally, Africa is becoming a stage for big power rivalries, and that's both a risk and a shot at relevance. The continent's not just a pawn, it's got a voice, and it's getting louder.
Would this be a true win-win, as China loves to say, of course? Or would the scales tip one way? That, my friends, depends on how both sides play their cards. That's one more shot fired.